You want to know how I lost 90 pounds and went from this to this? This is my journey of losing 90 pounds as a full-time accountant. I was working full-time as an auditor while also studying for the CPA exam. I decided to sacrifice all of my hobbies for this endeavor. The only exception was video games, which is not the healthiest hobby to begin with. The combination of being in front of a computer for almost every waking hour for almost 2 years resulted in me ballooning to 250 pounds. I'm 6'2", so most people around me would give me encouragement saying I looked fine, I carried the weight well, etc. But I didn't feel fine. Not only did I feel like a slob, my energy was equally as bad. If you look at my pictures from that time period, I actually look older because I genuinely felt like an old man. Identity is a really powerful thing. Now, years later, I'm in the best shape of my life and have more energy than I did when I was in my 20s or teens. This required a lot of patience and psychological work. I've yo-yo dieted my whole life, and this time I was determined to not make the same mistake. This journey was sparked by the extreme weight that I had reached, my mental health, my lack of energy, self-image, and the final catalyst was a breakup, which is usually the case for most people. This started with me taking Tony Robbins' UPW Virtual at the beginning of COVID. This sparked the initial motivation I needed, and using the principles from that event, I kept the momentum going for 2 years until I lost a whopping 90 pounds. I genuinely thought I would be shredded if I got back to my college weight of like 190 pounds. To my surprise, I didn't really get shredded until I got to 160. So I had to keep going, and then eventually I was like, maybe this last 10 pounds is gonna be it. Maybe this last, and then finally I started to see the abs, and I was like, okay, I'm almost there. This was a challenging journey because every accounting job I had during this period of time was increasingly demanding and it was just constant chaos in every environment I was in. Every accounting job I had was constant chaos with long hours. Going remote during COVID helped a lot, but even then, for a good amount of time, I rebounded after getting into a new relationship. In this relationship, we traveled, and any time off, we would travel. And when you get into a relationship, sometimes you get comfortable. Once I kind of rebounded a little bit, then I realized like, oh wow, I'm going backwards. I'm losing all the progress that I made. And so I made clear boundaries, and no matter what, I stuck to it. I had my cheat days here and there, but for the most part, I didn't let the relationship derail me from the goal. With a demanding work schedule, I realized my whole career, I had prioritized my career over my health, which is why I even let it get as bad as it did. When I realized this, I made a conscious choice to always prioritize my health. The key for this was to make time for walks, workouts, eating clean meals, was to prioritize my health over everything else, including my career. The previous years in my career was number one. Because of that, my health deteriorated drastically. When you mentally make a decision that something's going to be above something else, you only do the second thing when it's convenient. That was a huge decision I made, because once I made the health the important thing and I made the job the second important thing, the health is easy, right? You wake up, you work out, you get a knockdown in the morning, and then you can still do your job. You can still do all the stuff that you're responsible. When you start with your career, it's really hard to make health a responsible thing because you're not accountable to anybody but yourself. With a job, you're actually accountable to somebody, and you can get fired. So you have this extra motivation to get your work done and do a good job. But something like health that's so important and you're only accountable to yourself should be number one. If I didn't make this conscious choice, I'm sure I would have kept going towards 300 pounds. Once I made the decision, I obsessively looked for ways to make the journey sustainable. I was on a path to find the perfect diet, the perfect workout routine, pretty much whatever worked for me to stick to this diet for long term. Because of my history of yo-yo dieting, I knew this was something I had to figure out. Otherwise, I would just burn out at some point. Also, I wanted to make the workouts fun, and I wanted to look forward to them. I realized from yo-yo dieting my whole life that if you don't enjoy it, it's only a matter of time before you fall off the wagon, and then you just go back to your old habits, and you end up going back to the same weight, if not more. Around this time, I started watching Greg Doucette and got a whole new perspective on weight loss. There were three main catalysts when I started this journey. The first one was my mother's health. Living with her, it was a constant reminder, if I didn't take care of my health, like what my life would look like. And her health has deteriorated over years, and her life just gets harder and harder. I realized that if I don't make the conscious choice to not end up in that position, I was going to end up in that position. Number two was a breakup, which is probably most people that go to the gym. It's usually catalyzed by a breakup. That was an important catalyst as well. And then the third one was UPW. The principles that I learned from Tony Robbins at UPW were game changer. Having the mental tools and knowing all the blind spots that you're going to have to look out for, having a plan before you start the journey and how you're going to navigate the journey in case you hit plateaus, or it's inevitable you're going to run into situations where you want to quit. When you have something like UPW or any kind of goal setting skills, you're going to be prepared and you're going to find ways around those obstacles. So these are the three main reasons that I was able to catalyze the change. During my journey, I had a lot of epiphanies. These completely changed the way I looked at diet, exercise, and also my identity as someone who's a fit person. I learned that the hardest part of weight loss journey is the diet. It's something I always struggled with. I yo-yo dieted my whole life because I love food, and as disciplined as I can be, it's only a matter of time that the traditional diet would push me over the edge and I would binge or altogether quit the journey. This has happened countless times in my life. I'll be super disciplined for 6 months to a year, get to my goal, there's no new goal, and I just revert back to my old habits because I miss the cupcakes and I miss the ice cream and I miss all the good foods that aren't good for you. I would be on this journey for 6 months to a year, get amazing results, feel really good about myself, and then the thinking about continuing the journey terrified me because it was just not a sustainable way of doing it, and my mindset wasn't aligned either. You have to trick your brain. If you want to do something for the rest of your life, you have to find ways to trick your brain and change your identity. Otherwise, it's not going to stick. Once I realized from consuming content that you can actually eat foods that you enjoy and still lose weight, it completely blew my mind. I could have quesadillas, burgers, hot dogs, ice cream, French toast, and still lose weight. This was not a reality I knew existed. The key was that I created meals. First, I started with Greg Doucette's cookbook. Shout out to Greg, which was very helpful. There was a lot of amazing recipes in there, but it also, the main thing it showed me is it showed me principles on how you can take foods that you enjoy and just lower the calories, like using fat-free cheese and low-calorie bread and finding alternatives for oil, Splenda, sweeteners. And once I learned these principles, not only did I eat some of Greg's recipes, but I created my own. So I took things that I enjoyed eating, a lot of Middle Eastern food, things that I really enjoy, burgers, hot dogs, and I created my own versions. I would sit there and I would be like, okay, what spices do I like? Let me go get low-fat beef, quesadillas. The ice cream from Greg was spot on. I started eating Greek yogurt with whipped cream and blueberries. Amazing. High protein, low calorie, and still delicious. The next epiphany I had was related to exercise. My whole life, I avoided cardio like the plague. I believed the bro science that if you do cardio, you'll lose muscle. And so I used that justification to never exercise my heart. Even in college, when I was in my best shape, I could barely sprint across a field without coughing up a lung. Seeing my mother go through heart health issues, I realized that I need to stop neglecting cardio and have a healthy, balanced workout routine. I had brute forced weight loss in the past by running 3 miles a day despite hating running. Like I said, I was constantly trying to put myself in a model of fitness that someone else might enjoy. There's people out there that love running. I have a friend, one of my best friends loves running. He's run for 30 years and he just still loves running, but it never was that way for me. I just thought that you had to run to lose weight. I didn't know you could go for a walk. I didn't know you could do an elliptical. I didn't know you could, I didn't even think you burn that many calories like playing basketball. So I tried different forms of cardio, tested them out until I found one that I enjoyed and can consistently do, and that was the elliptical. Elliptical is great because it's low impact, so it doesn't mess up your knees. It's pretty easy to do. I don't feel exhausted. I'm sweating, I burn calories, but I don't feel like I'm dying when I'm doing it. So because of that, I'm actually able to listen to audiobooks, listen to YouTube videos, knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. Yeah, and I just enjoy it. It's something about the elliptical movement. It's just fun. It's hard to read books when you're running for your dear life. Also, I thought my whole life that walking was a waste of time. I started to realize from fitness influencers that walking is actually a very potent form of cardio. Not only that, but it's an immensely meditative process. You get time to reset and remind yourself of what you're grateful for and think about how you want the day to pan out. Walking is something that I never walked for fun in my life until this point. Now I can't get over how much I love to go on walks and just be in nature. Before that, I hated walking, I hated hiking, and now I always have the urge to just go outside and just see the sun, smell the air, and I have to attribute that to this new habit and this new identity that came with it. I was in a very dark place mentally, so this routine alone changed my life completely. Finally, I realized that my hobby of playing video games was one of the most destructive habits. When the thing that brings you the most joy is something that takes you away from the thing you know you need and want to improve your life, it's tough to resist. I realized that not only did I have to change the way I approached diet and exercise, but I would need to find a hobby that pulled me into the direction I wanted. I had always been interested in photography, but I never really gave it a chance. I realized that if I consciously chose my hobby, I could find something that naturally pulled me towards my goals. Travel and photography were the hobbies that just spoke to me. I knew if I chose photography, it would pull me out of the house and make me want to explore the world. Playing video games, it's just like I'm working from a computer, I'm doing everything from a computer, having fun behind a computer. Like, it's just the imbalance over 10 years was pretty ridiculous. It was a pretty damaging combination. Once I got the camera and I started doing these photo walking sessions, going out and just going, doing street photography. Sometimes I would go out planning for like an hour, and then I'd be out for like 8 hours just walking around taking photos. And this is on top of me doing all my cardio and workouts early in the morning when I wake up. So it's like a bonus 20,000 steps, it's pretty crazy. At this point, everything was aligned and pulling me towards the version of myself that I wanted to be. Slowly and slowly, my identity started to shift. Not only was I becoming a professional photographer, but I was becoming a fit person, and the old version of me just became more and more of a stranger. And to this day, like I don't even understand how I ended up in that position. Like at this moment that I am right now, I can't even fathom going back to that situation, which is powerful, and that proves that you can totally transform your life. And I did all this at the age of 34. Started this journey at 34. Ended it at 36, 37. It's also proof that it's never too late. It's never too late to turn your life around. Like any journey, there is the inevitable loss of motivation or losing sight of why. This is why I made sure to remind myself every day about these 3 things. Why I was on the journey. From Tony, I learned when you set a goal, you have to have something that's pulling you towards the goal, and then you have to have something that you're running from that's pushing you towards the goal. The towards things were, I wanted to see what my body was capable of. I knew I was 34, and I was like, if I don't take care of this now, it's only going to get harder from this point on. And so I said, I want to see myself have a 6-pack. I never had a 6-pack, and even though I was in the best shape at times, I just thought it was genetics. There's no way. Maybe I just don't have 6-pack. Maybe our family just doesn't have 6-packs. And so I was like, maybe that is true, but let me find out for myself. Let me push it, and let me really push it. And if I'm just like shredded, no more fat, and I still have a 6-pack, cool, whatever. I can move on. I won't regret it. But to my surprise, when I actually got lean, I had a pretty decent 6-pack. I realized it wasn't genetics. It was more of a cultural thing. Indian, Pakistani food in general is made with a lot of oil, and so it's very calorie dense, which is why I think in the past you haven't seen too many shredded like brown dudes. So because of that, I had this weird assumption that like maybe it was like a genetic thing, but nah, it's just diet. Like those foods that I loved, I created versions of them that don't have oil. Like I use 0-calorie spray, and it tastes almost as good for like 1/3, 1/4 the calories. So that was a huge breakthrough when it came to the diet. Another why statement that I had to pull me into the right direction. I wanted to be aesthetic and not be self-conscious of my body in any situation. I wanted to be able to take off my shirt in any situation and not feel self-conscious. And on top of like wanting to see what I'm capable of is just stacking. I was just stacking these positive reinforcement goals. I wanted to become healthier. Like I said, seeing my mom every day sick and struggling, not having a good life, and always being sad and miserable. I was just like, I want to be healthy. I pictured myself as a 60-year-old man with a 6-pack, just like climbing mountains and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And honestly, that was a big part of it as well. Visualization is very powerful, especially if you do it every day. And so every day I would get on an elliptical and I would picture myself as a 60-year-old man with a 6-pack. It's something about that. Just like when you make a conscious decision to be something 20 years from now, 30 years from now, it's like right now, for sure I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? What's 2 years? What's 3 years? It's like, it's gonna happen. Another thing was I wanted to inspire my family, and particularly my mom, that no matter how old you are, you can always turn your life around and make drastic transformations. Part of me was feeling like if I do this, instead of lecturing and telling people close to me or people I care about like they should take care of their health, maybe if I showed them, not only would it help me, but it would inspire people. And inspiring people has been one of those things that really drove me in a lot of ways. My career, everything that I've done in my life is typically wanting to inspire. And like I said, I pictured myself at 60 with being shredded. So those are the whys that pulled me towards the goal. And so these are the whys that pushed me towards the goal. These are the things I was running away from towards this goal. I saw my mother's health deteriorate, and I didn't want to make the same mistake. She was a daily reminder of the life that awaited me if I neglected this area of my life. This journey, you know, it was 2 years. It went by pretty fast. I made a conscious effort. Even, you know, during the whole journey, I was constantly tweaking the diet, tweaking the routine, tweaking the systems, just tweaking anything I could to make it more effortless and fun. Whether it was building a gym in my garage, not building, but essentially I got gym equipment in my garage, so I wouldn't have an excuse about, you know, I had to commute to the gym. And also I created the habit where I would work out first thing in the morning, because your willpower is the strongest in the morning. And so I had no excuse, because I was literally, it was over with. I would wake up, I would do the workout, and then you feel like the rest of your day is free. It's a bonus. That gave me control over my time, because I took care of the thing that mattered the most first, then the career, then I had fun at night, whatever it was. And so I had a pretty balanced life. Like, it was sustainable. Work would get crazy, it'd get busy, but I would go for my walk on this trail right next to the house, 30-minute walk. The day's already started out amazing. And then I'd come back, get to work, lunchtime, put food on the grill while it's cooking, go for another walk. And so I had all these systems to where it was just so frictionless, and it was very sustainable, and it was enjoyable. Like, it was a very fun process for me. If I didn't do that, I probably would have been frustrated at some point. If I had to drive to a gym, or if I had to like eat broccoli and chicken every day, you know, eventually I would have had a stressful day at work. And then I would have been like, screw it. Like, let me just focus on work, and I'll figure this out next week. And then it'd be 1 week, and then 2 weeks, and 3 weeks. And you have to make this something that's enjoyable every day. There were times that I wanted to quit, and I just had to remind myself, you know, anytime I would wake up, I'd give myself cheat days. So on the weekend, maybe one day, you know, I'd give myself, maybe every couple of weeks, I would give myself a cheat day, have cake, or go out with friends and just eat whatever I wanted. Not go too crazy, but like every now and then I would still binge, right? Like, because eventually, even if you have healthy versions of cupcakes and ice cream and stuff like that, sometimes you want the real thing. And I realized, like, fighting that is not good. You just have to limit it. Whenever you beat yourself up, you lose energy. That's what Tony Robbins says. And so what happens is, you come at the thing with less energy, so now you're more likely to not do it or fail, and then you're more likely to beat yourself up. So it's like this endless loop. And so I was like, look, if you binge, that's fine. As long as the trend is down, that's all that matters. That's pretty much the journey. Best 2 years of my life. Now I'm actually, you know, this last 6 months, I've been on a pretty crazy adventure. It's been a crazy year. I got laid off at the beginning of this year, which sparked a road trip, and then that led to Thailand, and then me meeting people in Thailand, and, you know, making lifelong friends, and just all the lessons I learned. So it's been a crazy 6 months, and now that I'm back here where it all started, my goal is to, even though I've been traveling, I try to maintain it to some extent, but yeah, it's been a challenge to maintain that lifestyle while traveling. So my next goal is to figure this thing out in a way where it's super sustainable even when I travel. And so I have this second transformation in mind. And yeah, so right now, a few days ago, I got home, I got here, and then I started my second transformation. So I'm gonna have to lose 20 pounds, get shredded again, and then start bulking back up. And yeah, it's crazy once you lose that much weight, like how easy it is to kind of stay lean for the most part, because it takes a lot of work to put a lot of weight back on, right? I'd have to go back to video games and like sitting there for 2 years for it to get that bad again. And also, I know what I have to go through to lose it, and so I would never do that again. Also, in my brain, I'm a fit person, and so whenever I'm not doing these things, it just doesn't feel right. So I hope to make more videos like this and more videos on this topic to help people like me. And because I do feel like I learned a lot in regards to specific distinctions, psychological. Most people say it's calories in, calories out, but there's so much more to it. And hopefully I can help somebody out there with that knowledge. So hope this video was informative. Hope you learned something. Hope you were inspired in some way. If you were, Please like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below with anything specific you want me to cover. Maybe if you have some questions about my journey. I would love to help anybody that's in a similar situation that I was at the time. And if there's any distinctions I can help with, I would be happy to do that. So yeah, just like and subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.